Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, May 15th, 2023. Yep, we're almost to the middle. Well, we're almost to the next month, which would be the middle of 2023. It's moving pretty quickly. And it seems like it's been a pretty good year so far for the most part. There are some things that I'm going to talk about later on, dealing with some personal stuff and some family stuff and whatnot, but I'm not going to address that at the moment. I'll bring it up later. And there's of course there's a lot of things going on around the world and all these different things, right? So hopefully we can take an hour, maybe an hour and a half, who knows, and talk about cars and any kind of questions you may have, any comments and whatnot. I appreciate all those. If you have something you want to bring up, by all means, do that. If you want to email me anything, my email is jdaddysgarage@gmail.com. I have something coming up from Jerry from the Money Pit. He has some questions about his Mustang, so we'll be addressing that in a little while. And also, you get a bell if you participate. Yep, we'd like to do that. Just a little service I offer, little reward system. If you have a good question or comment, you may get a bell. If you are here, you're going to get a bell, just because. That's the way it rolls. That's the way I roll, I guess. I will say that I had a visitor this past week that was great. He stopped in and we talked about some things, talked about car stuff, and addressed some issues that some questions he had about his build he's doing. It's a 67, and he had some measurement problems. I also communicated with some other people this week who are building cars and was able to answer some questions and help them resolve those sort of things. And, I try to do that as often as I can. I get emails, I get messages on Facebook, I get messages on Instagram, and I try to be as approachable as I can be for those sort of things, because ultimately, even though I'm making videos for YouTube and revenue and all those sort of things, and that all matters, but when it comes down to it, I want people to know more about their car or their project and help them put it back on the road. It's just kind of how I do things. So let's see who's here tonight and get this show on the road, as they say. And the first one in is Rick Gain from New Jersey. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to seeing how the 69 turns out when done. Hit like and thumbs up for Barry. Yes, thank you, Rick. And I'm going to be asking some questions as we move, further into the show about some of that stuff. Terry Keithley, evening all, Barry. Please hit the thumbs up and like. Thank you kindly. Yes, thank you, Terry. That is important. The thumbs up and or like button, that lets YouTube know that people are watching this and kind of helps them promote it, because Lord knows they won't do it any other way. Leonard, how's everyone doing this evening? Looking forward to what's up. Glad you're here, Leonard. Crash Rider, good evening from Southern Indiana. The jig has already shown it was well worth the time and trouble to build. Be sure to hit the like button. Good stuff coming in the future. Yes. Yeah, the jig is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. And I really am happy that I took the time to not only build it initially, but also use the Mach 1 for the reference points for the build. It would have been difficult in a lot of senses to kind of do what I'm doing at this point. I know I had a different approach on the Brooklyn Pony car, which of course had almost nothing that was even something I could measure from for the most part. And once I started cutting that apart, there was no turning back, and I had to, in a sense, reverse engineer it to make it happen. But this car, I'm able to, forward engineer some of it by having the jig working for me. So, thank you. Jerry, good evening to all from Middle Tennessee. Please click the thumbs up for Barry and his channel. Yes. And we're going to look at your pictures later on, Jerry. Charles, great evening from hot, humid, and lightning-plagued Pensacola, Florida. Got to hit the like button first thing. Don't forget, hit it now. Super stoked that Crunchy is moving forward now. Yes. And there's going to be some really good stuff coming out with that whole project, as you know, Charles. Kevin Dollar, good evening from H-Town. Okay. I don't know what H-Town is, but good evening. Roger checking in from next door, Hindsight 6-7. Glad to hear Raj. Richard Byrne, good evening from hot and humid Central Florida. Happy to see another Mustang getting restored. Yes, I am too. Evans Garage, hey early birds, Barry the Crunch Cobra swiftly coming along. You're going to get your mileage out of that boat trailer jig. Yeah, you're darn tootin'. That's precisely why I wanted to have that built, so I could use it for these sort of things. Troy, good evening from coastal Georgia. I'm enjoying the 69 build. Thank you, Troy. Nandu, good evening, Barry, and all of you. Glad you're here, Nandu. Whoops, sorry. Let me give a better bell. Chris Greenaway is checking in. Hi, Chris. Again, thank you for the email that you sent me. I do appreciate that. Dawn's Manufacturing. Hello, folks, from 90 degree and sunny PDX. Betsy has color, but like Jade, I will have to reshoot the car. Oh, I don't want to hear that, Dawn. Sorry, man. I don't know what happened. I haven't seen if you posted any videos on it or not. I have not seen those. Maybe you can give us an update as to what happened. Johnny V, good evening all from Eastern Tennessee. Glad you're here, Johnny. The Dawn, greetings from upstate New York. Weather is gorgeous, but laid out flat with a bad back. But hey, Cars and Coffee's on. It is, so it's a great night. Well, sorry to hear about the back, but I'm glad that you're able to somewhat participate. Mr. Mikey, greetings all from unusually rainy South Texas. Okay, well, I believe that would be unusual. Glad you're here. Jerry is talking to Dawn, saying, I feel your pain. Yep. Rick Stevenson, hello, everyone. Glad you're here, Rick. Hope all is well with you. Got to get the coffee. Good stuff. Kevin Dollar, H-Town, Houston. Oh, well, see, that makes no sense at all. Like, I know about E-Town, which is in Kentucky, and that is Elizabeth Town. It's actually E-Town. So Houston Town, I get it. But yeah, I've not heard it called H-Town, sorry. But glad you're here. Ray Buckman. Hey, Barry, enjoying 69 build. Love the lines on your brother's car. Thank you, Ray. We're going to talk about that as well. And Steve's Money Pig. Good evening from hot, humid Philippines. Thumbs up, everyone. Glad you're here, Steve. Okay. So we got the ball rolling. Oh, got a couple more. Michael Pagliarini, hello, all from Rhode Island. I liked the last video on the 69. Good. Don saying thanks, Jerry. And Kevin Willis, thanks for the help on my 65 Mustang convertible. I watched all your videos. Huge help. You're welcome, Kevin. Okay, so this is kind of, I was looking for, on my Facebook page, I had posted a link to the video, and I asked for feedback on that particular video. As I'm trying to improve the channel and improve the process and make it better for everyone, I pulled out the old GoPro. I have not used this really, like this head strap thing. I have not used it for that since I was doing Spartan races, because I would film some of my Spartan races with my GoPro strapped to my head, and it gives a great perspective. And I guess I'm so used to using my other camera, or even my little Osmo camera, that I kind of didn't really think about the GoPro very much. And I also knew that the older version of GoPro that I had would fight with my editing software. And that is not, that's not fun. Like, I had to go through multiple steps to make it work with my editing software. So when I did this one, I was experimenting with this particular newer GoPro. This is a Hero 7. And I wanted to see if it, how it would work. And it did. It did what I wanted it to do. But I was looking for feedback on that, because if that makes it, which I assume makes it better for everyone to do those kind of head angle things, I'll continue doing that and try to even add more stuff to that as I go. I know that in that sense, when I was doing the work on the car or on the core support, it also demonstrated a lot of the actual work that goes into doing the work. A lot of how much time, even though I sped the film up and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to work towards making better, I say better videos in that sense. The feedback I've gotten is really good. I was also looking at the time. That was a longer video, and I think I've only had one person say they didn't like it. They like 20-minute videos, or they can't watch the whole thing in one segment, so they may watch it break it up into pieces. And I get that. But it's hard to find that happy medium for everybody. Some people say I want a 10-minute video. Some say I want an hour-long video. I looked at some other some other channels that people had recommended, and there's a couple people on there. They're putting out videos that are almost 2 hours long. And I know for me, I have trouble sitting doing this. I have a hard time watching a video that's 2 hours long. Now, I get it. A lot of it is entertainment value, too. And so I got to find that spot where it's not only kind of entertaining, but also pass on of knowledge. So if anybody has any input on that, by all means, let me know. Let's see, Rick. Does a Studebaker have a name? Well, I'm going to just call it Henry. It's going to be Henry. That's simple enough. I don't need to do any other name for it, I think. And since you brought it up, we're gonna talk about that a little bit. I know that I mentioned in the video on that car that the front suspension and steering and all that stuff is really awkward, to say the least. And it's one of those things too, where I mentioned this before. Just because they design something a certain way in a certain time, it doesn't mean that you need to live with that. If it makes sense. Like, that was the technology they had, or what somebody designed at that time period. And then as time goes on, the technology improves and advances. I've mentioned it before, this car, it's all sentimental value. There's really no dollar figure that says, hey, it's going to be worth blah, blah, blah after you do all kinds of work to it. Keep it all original. No, it really doesn't matter. I've seen plenty of them where they're making gassers out of them. They're doing all kinds of stuff. I don't want to do a gasser. I'm not into that. It might look cool, but that's not my thing. What I want to do, I've already looked it up. There's a company out there, or at least one company, that sells a Mustang 2 style front end for that. That's what I'm going to do. I'll cut the frame. I don't care. I'm going to make it a drivable car with, better brakes, better steering, all those things. And with the steering that's on it, it is so weird looking and dysfunctional in a sense that adding a rack and pinion with a Mustang 2 suspension makes perfect sense to me. And the only debate I'm going to have on that is what I need to do to make that engine work. Because I do want to keep the Studebaker engine and transmission. The rear end is a Ford. The front suspension, all that's going to be modified or whatever. But I got to make sure that I can keep the engine and transmission in the vehicle. I did that. We had last week when we were on, that auction was going on, and that auction was at the Pennsylvania property that where I grew up, and of course I bid on the engine and the supercharger and some other items. And I got some funny stories to go with that. But I ended up with the engine, in the supercharger and all that. And my nephew-in-law, I guess, how do you say that? If you have a niece, like a blood relative niece, what do you call her husband? Is he a nephew then? Or is he like a nephew-in-law? That's all. I don't know how to label that. Anyway, he was also bidding on some stuff. And he won some items. Here's the rub on that. I was bidding on those license plates. I was trying to win those license plates. There was probably 10 or 12 variety of license plates. And y'all saw me, I was sitting there bidding, and then the bid would jump, and I would bid, and the bid would jump. And I'm like, man, why? What is going on with this? Who is bidding up here? After the auction was over, I contacted him the next day, and I said, hey, did you win anything? And he said, yeah, I won this and this, and I won the license plates. So he didn't know he was bidding against me on the license plates. We could have got those things for $10. And he was the only one bidding. It was just me and him. And this bad part is, he didn't know, but I had sent him the item numbers that I was going to bid it on, the lot numbers, and apparently he never looked. He just didn't even consider it. And man, I just I just ended up. He ended up with these license plates at $140. But on the other side of that, he did go and pick up the engine and transmission and that stuff for me, so I'm happy about that. The other part of that is, my dad actually bid on stuff. It's sad because he had to buy back his own stuff. A lot of the equipment that was there, some of the tractors and Graveleys and all kinds of stuff were actually his. And since they were on the property, they fell under I'm going to say my brother's widow. I will not refer to her ever as my sister-in-law. I will refer to her as my brother's widow. So she ended up with all that stuff, and it got really, really ugly and complicated. But my dad had to buy back his own stuff from the auction. And then come to find out that the property is now sold. So the auction cleared off everything that was up there. And unfortunately, the Studebaker that I've been trying to get for parts, even before my brother's car, it's apparently gone. She took it upon herself to have some people come in there and haul off cars and different things, and this is the car that I was referring to. Granted, it's falling apart, I know, but I only wanted it for parts. I only wanted the engine, transmission, rear end, and stuff like that. Somebody ended up with it. I don't know who, and it may have been just shoved into a hole. I don't know, but it is gone. And at this point, the property was sold. And it was sold to a power company that runs a coal cleaning plant nearby. So I've already verified all of this, and so there's no chance of it being back in our family at all. They will never part with that. And the story is, I talked to the land manager for that company. They are more than likely going to knock the house down, so that it's no longer considered a residence. I don't know if they're going to do anything with the garage and stuff that's there, but the house is going to be destroyed, and the land will be left alone. They're not going to use it for any kind of mining operations. What this company is doing is they're creating a buffer. They have this noisy operating process, and even though the land is beautiful, and there's lots of people that want to live in that area, the mining company or power company will spend money to buy a buffer. And that way they can't have other people moving in and then complain about their business. So I get it. I'm not upset about it. I understand where they're coming from. I'm just, still ticked off at the whole process and how we were excluded from any possibility of taking it back or buying it and that sort of thing. So anyway, the status, of course, at this point with the Studebaker was related to that. I wanted that engine that was in that green car because that was the R1 Avanti engine. I did want to put that in there. It's apparently not going to be an option at this point. And if I did get it, I would have considered the rear end because it had the twin traction Studebaker rear end. But I can't worry about it. I just can't. I got to keep moving forward. So I'll be looking at the Mustang 2 front suspension sometime down the road. So no rush on that, but I do know that somebody makes it. So I'll continue on now. Dawn, hey Barry, Betsy's looked great until I saw it in the sun. Metallic did not lay well, and the color was not mixed correctly. In a nutshell. Dawn, I am sorry to hear that. I know the pain, but I'm really sorry to hear that. Bob Shoemaker, good evening from Oklahoma. Glad to hear, Bob. Marshall, howdy folks. Looking forward to the Mach 1 build. Barry got almost 5K on the fastback and having fun with it for a bit. Still in epoxy primer, but running, fitting, and sounding good. Thanks to Barry and gang. Thank you, Marshall. Glad to hear you're enjoying it. Nandu, the last video was good. Looking forward to more. Awesome. Thank you. Leonard, the video was great. Enjoyed it. In the longer the video, the more informative it is in my book. Okay. Thank you, Leonard. Dave Britton checking in. Glad to hear Dave. Chris getting the formula ready for cruise season. Dyed the seats this morning. Oh man, good. Hope that turned out nice. Yeah, Leonard says downright mean. He just didn't know that he was bidding against me. Steve, 30 to 45 minutes work best for me. I do watch Fitzy make it custom and Carter that runs 60 to 90 minutes. Sometimes I have to split. Okay. Thank you, Steve. Leonard saying, Steve, what you think about the 49 he's doing? Okay. The Dawn, point of view, POV is great for showing someone how to do something from the correct perspective. However, your traditional approach is also great for teaching. Yeah, I'm going to try to do a mix of that. I know that I a lot of times I will stop, grab the camera, and point and talk and say this, that, and the other. But I do appreciate the head angle as well, because then you can see exactly what I'm referring to rather than seeing it from a side shot. So I will be continuing to mix stuff together and work both cameras. Actually, maybe even more cameras. I went and bought this cheap. I'll just show you. I bought this cheap, and I do mean cheap. It looks expensive, but this is like a $50 camera off of eBay, and it shoots in 4K apparently. Got that in a cheap stand, and I may be trying some other things with that in the process as well. What you run into though, and it's just part of the process. But like, okay, so this has to be the memory, the data from this has to be transferred. The data from that camera has to be transferred. The data from that camera, the data from the GoPro, all has to be merged together into a big conglomerate file, and then pick through and organize it so that it all makes sense. So adding more cameras also adds more time to the editing, which is the way it has to be. But thank you, Don. Dave Tyson, good evening, all. Glad to hear Dave. Small bell. 67 Cuda, sorry I am late. Well, you have to bring the donuts if you're late. So, your turn. Dave, Barry, you could call the local wrecking scrapyards in that area and see if it came in. Yeah, my dad's actually working on that. I don't know. The sad part is I asked her specifically about that car, and she just kind of played it off like, oh, I don't know what happened to it, blah, blah, blah. The auction company handled it, blah, 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 when they didn't. I talked to the auction company directly, and they said they didn't know anything about that stuff. So she knew what was going on and just kind of, yeah. Evil woman. That's all I can say. Steve, that really sucks. The others too, and properties. Yes. And I think that she also sold off the property in Kentucky. Yeah. Yeah, she's really struggling with losing my brother as her husband. Really struggling. Ray Buckman, great story in the license plate. Sorry about the family property. Had a similar situation with grandfather's house. Went to cousin, and his wife treated it like money pit when they divorced. Well, yeah. Thank you, Ray. Johnny V. Hey, I have a question for you, everyone. Is there a way to stiffen the steering on a power steering car? Not slop. It's way too easy to spin the wheel. Take the belt off. Just disconnect the pump. That'll do it every time. The only thing that I could suggest is, what would it be? Put a bigger, no, change the size of the pulley maybe. You could change the size of the pulley, and I would have to do some math. My mind's not working right now. So a smaller pulley would decrease the speed, or the other way around. I don't know. I got like 2 hours sleep last night. I had just to give you some idea, we had we went out for Mother's Day. My wife wanted to go. We went to this Mexican restaurant we always go to, and I ended up getting something that I normally don't get, which is not out of the ordinary. It wasn't like it was some bizarre. It was just a burrito. And later on, last night, that burrito didn't like me anymore. So I spent a great deal of the evening or the night and early morning having a conversation with that burrito. I literally got about 2 hours sleep last night, and yeah, one of those things. But yeah, you could change the size of the pulley, and I think that's one way to slow down the flow of the fluid. Anyway, Chris, I don't know. I don't know if those video ideas were good. Maybe discuss it with your audience as well. Yeah, that we might do that. I don't know yet. 72 Mustang, Johnny says. Doyle, when you were on the road trip to get Studebaker, you were close to Sad Sam's Fireworks. Is the next exit from me? Would have liked to see in real life. I didn't know that, and I apologize for not announcing. I didn't know what the route was going to be. I know there were several people that lived up in that area. I don't know, Steve, I think, was in Paducah. And I probably should have or could have arranged something to make some interactions. But that was a all the way up and get back type of deal. Denny Alvey checking in. Glad you're here, Denny. Donnie Williams. I can't see what your little lump is. I don't know what that is. I can't see it. Johnny's laughing. Yeah, well, like I said, take the belt off. It works. Chris, Johnny, those Fords have their pinky finger turn steering. If it's working, leave it alone. Donnie Williams, other way around. Yeah, I'm kind of like I said, I'm a little out of it right now. Dave, that has to be the first time I ever heard anyone wanting the steering harder. Bigger pulley on a pump slows it down. There you go. Bigger, and Ray Buckins, bigger, slower, smaller, faster. Yes, that makes perfect sense. I know. Steve Leonard, I'm a Mopar guy, but I love everything he works on. The 49 is cool. Wish he'd go into painting. I bet he is great at that too. Denny Alvey, take the belt off the pulley and let some of the air out of the tires. Fixed. That works too. Don't even start the engine. Just. So Johnny's talking to Chris. Okay. That one kid just started on my 64 F100 flare side, and I'm starting to weld the cab corners because they are rusted to death. And any advice on how to weld any of the cab corners? But if not, it's nice to see you. Okay. Well, I've done videos. I don't know if I've done and let's put it this way. I've replaced cab corners on many trucks. I don't know that I have any videos on that sort of thing. I did rebuild front fenders on what year was that Ford? Like a 48 to 51 Ford. That may give you some perspective if you find that video. F1 fender repair, I think is what it's called. And the things you run into are you're dealing with multiple curves or a curve and on a weld on a curve and that sort of thing. So when you're making your patch piece or replacing that piece, you want to make sure you don't let it transition to where the pieces end up not lined up. And sometimes you have to make some serious clamps and take your time tacking those pieces together and follow the process and make sure that they stay on the same plane. So if you start tacking and you see something move on you, go ahead and cut those loose and reset it. But stuff like that can be beneficial. If you look at that video, it might help you with that as well. So good question. Mr. Mikey had the same problem with a Red Baron pizza. Oh yeah, yeah. This was a supreme burrito for sure. Dave Brett and Donnie did some clapping hands for the comment. Take the belt off. Oh, okay. I can't see it. Ray Buckman could always check into doing ePass. They really are smooth. There will be an upcoming video probably on that stuff. We'll see how it goes. Chris, Johnny, I'd recommend adjusting the wheel to have some slop, like 1/8 inch left and right before any action. You could possibly do that. Leonard, there's 268 Roadrunners not far from me. Been watching them for years, and they're still there. Really? I like the looks of those. I like the 68s. Terry, I've been to E-Town, Bardstown, Murdra Hill on Benny's first chance, last chance. Fun. Yeah, okay. Johnny says, Chris, it has some slop. Okay. Yeah, so changing the pulley might be your option. I don't know what the steering ratio is on your box. I don't know. If it's a quick ratio box, like 2.5 turns, maybe it takes swapping the box out to a slower ratio box. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the good answer is. Okay, so Jerry, thank you, Jerry. All right, I've got some other pictures too. Awesome. Let me get these downloaded. Chris sent me some pictures of his. I guess it's a Formula. I think it's a Formula. Sorry, I'm going to say Firebird because it looks like a Firebird, but if it's a regular Formula. So that, and okay, so Jerry, if you sent me some video, okay, Jerry has sent me I have some pictures of his Mustang that he's having some problems with, and we're going to look at those. I think he's having some alignment issues with the hood. And the hood can be a very difficult thing to align, but ultimately it's a combination of everything. So I'm going to show these pictures of Jerry's hood. And so there he's got he's tied up against the fender. That would be the passenger side fender. I guess I'm a little confused by the pictures because that angle there, it's straight on and flush. That looks like the same side. And then up at the cowl, that's a challenge for sure. And then the driver's side. So wanting to get, I don't know what exactly I can help you with on that alignment, those alignment questions. And I don't see a video, so let me go back to this. The hood, all I can say on these situations, I don't know, I forget which hood hinges you have, and sometimes those come into play a lot with the end result. And I mentioned this even like in the Mustang video that I'm doing right now. I always talk about test fitting, and that's what basically Jerry is doing at this point, is test fitting all this stuff. sometimes on the hood, the hinges limit you because you can't, like in the back there, you can't get them high enough. I've run into it both ways where I couldn't either get the hood high enough or I couldn't get it to sit low enough. So I've had to take the... Oh, so Jerry, okay. Let me see. Let me get Jerry. Maybe we'll get Jerry on here. Hold on just a second. And then he could just show me. Give me just 1 second. Okay. But the hinge, the slots in the hinge, in some cases they don't make them long enough. And I've actually had to go in and grind out the slot to make it longer, to index it, get a longer movement out of those hinges. The factory ones are normally good, but I've run into it with especially the whatever Golden Legion junk. I will never buy one of those again. I will just go straight to the Dynacorn, good brand of Dynacorn. And so when you run into that, to make that adjustment, it has to have room to move. So on that cowl, that tells me the back of the hood obviously has to go up. Now, I don't know how it relates directly to the fender, because I can't tell from the picture whether the fender is in line with the cowl or if it's actually sitting low. If that's the case, you're going to have to get the fender up because you can't change the cowl. There's nothing you can do about that. That's your kind of your anchor, and then you have to start adjusting things to that. And then, of course, tweaking everything left and right to get your reveal. Again, that's a hands-on thing that sometimes with one reveal won't work. You may end up with a tighter gap on the cowl just to get the fenders to line up. And I would rather have the fenders lined up straight than the cowl lined up, just because it's more of a visual when you walk up on the car. You open the hood, nobody can tell, but if you're looking at it, it's got to have those lines. Crash Rider, never order a burrito with all the extras. All right, says Chris, says I'm glad my formula is coming along, buffing process. Yes. So these are the pictures Chris sent me of the formula. Chris, you ought to turn if you're using your camera phone, turn it sideways so we can get a bigger picture out of that. That's all I can do with that picture. But it does look sharp. I will say that does look sharp. I do like that car. I like the front end. And you don't see the formulas. You'll see the Firebirds, but you rarely see the formulas. At least where I'm from. And he says after wax. Okay. Doyle, are you going to paint Studebaker back red like your brother had it, or back to original blue since the interior is blue? I want to put it back to blue. I think. Now I have some crazy ideas for doing this thing. Some of. I don't know what that noise was. Some of the ideas, I'd like to probably eliminate the bumpers. It doesn't have them. I don't have the brackets. I don't know what it's going to cost to fix up bumpers, but I could tell you I could fill in the holes where the valance goes and make it smooth, and nobody would know the difference. There's a picture of a 64 Studebaker, it's in a video. And they have that car. They don't have the bumpers on it. I know it's in the video I saw, but I don't know if there's actual pictures of it to show. But I really liked the way it looked. Very smooth. Yeah, I don't have the picture available. But anyway, it's going to go back to blue. As it turns out, I don't know if I mentioned in the video, it's red, but underneath the red is a medium metallic blue, and then underneath that metallic blue is the original dark blue. So I'll probably stick with the dark blue. And I did talk to my dad, and he implied that he had painted the roof white. That picture I have from '67, he said he painted it. Now, I don't know if he remembers correctly, because he also told me that he had done that to a lot of cars. It was a thing back then to paint the roof white, just as an offset. So he may have done it. I don't know, but I kind of like that that two tone or two color thing. So we'll see what happens with it. Again, it's on the back burner at this point, along with a lot of other things. Steve's talking to Leonard. Leonard getting back on the Torito when I welded in the quarter panel, didn't notice it was off at the rocker panel. Got to cut it loose and realign it. Yep, that's where it's always. I mean, there's a lot of challenges involved with making all this stuff line up and fit, and I will go out of my way to make sure stuff like that. I've got something holding it in place to try to make sure it stays there while I'm doing the other stuff going on. It can always be a frustration, I'm sure. Okay, so Jerry says maybe join line stream. Doyle may have to split the rear of hood to make it align with the body lines. Yeah, I don't know. I would rather fight with the hinges myself. Chris Leonard House is 73. Troy. Jerry had to adjust the hood hinges and fenders to get mine to fit right. It took some grinding of the hinge holes. Yep, exactly what I was saying. It was going great until I found them. I was off at the rocker panels. Okay, Colin. Hey everybody, great country Cobra video. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate that. Ray Buckman says, just out of curiosity, how wide is that gap? I can't tell from the imagery myself how wide any of that is. I know in this picture, it looks like it's butted up against it. So to me, the fender has to be stretched out some, moved away from it. That angle, I really can't tell either because the hood is sitting up by the looks of it. And there, I can't tell the height of the hood to the fender, even though the fender looks slightly below the cowl at that point. And so I would probably shim up the back of the fender to get it up to match the cowl first. And that side, again, I can't tell the gap, but it looks a wider gap on that side. In that case, I have actually taken the hood with the hinges mounted, gone over to the edge right at the hinges, and pushed and just kind of shoved at it to make everything kind of tweak a little bit. And believe it or not, sometimes that does make a big difference. Also, the holes in where the hood mounts, you can open up those a little bit, but you're going to run out of room with the head of the bolt as to how far it can move to get over there. It's tricky, especially by yourself. If you're doing it by yourself, that's the hardest part on those. Dave says, how old is your dad, Barry? Does he ever watch the stream? No, he doesn't watch the stream. He just turned 81. Right? Yeah, 81. A couple days, like last week, turned 81. Michael, I think you should Pro Tour it with an LS with a 5 or 6 speed. Well, you'd think that'd be a good thing, but honestly, I'm not against it. I'm not. It's the body that matters, in my opinion, at this point. But I do like the idea of having the Studebaker engine and transmission, simply because you go to a cruise-in or something and you open the hood and people look at it and they don't know exactly what they're looking at. They think, what kind of engine is that? Well, that's a Studebaker engine. Because in 65 they started putting Chevy engines in them just because they ran out of Studebaker parts. Chris Berry, thanks for the tip. But for 46-year-old paint, it looks like glass, but it does need a repaint. Well, it still looks good. I'm telling you, I do like the way it looks. It does look sharp. Okay, let me see if I can try this again with Jerry. I'll send him another link and see if that pops up. Right now, what I'm doing with the Mach 1 project, I posted some pictures on Facebook, but I'm I'm actually test fitting the fenders. Nothing is bolted down. Nothing's welded in place. Nothing is solid. But I want to verify locations of things as I move forward in the process. So right now the fenders are actually sitting on that front clip, and I can verify how they fit the core support, how they fit the fenders to the aprons, all that sort of thing. And right now everything is looking good. It lines up like it should. And then what I plan to do is take all that back off. The fenders, the frame rails, everything is going to come back off simply because I want to start taking more off of the Mach 1, and I don't have, I could probably roll the trailer kind of out, maybe more into, I want to be able to keep the garage closed. I don't know if I have enough room to roll the trailer all the way forward. But anyway, what I want to do is lower the car on the lift, and I need to start removing all the front suspension. So the control arm's going to come out, the coil springs, all that stuff's going to come out so that I can attack the shock towers. And I got to get those out. And then, of course, I'll do the same thing on the new pieces. I'll be pulling out the new shock towers and putting in the original shock towers. So that way they're better built, and it'll be better to have all that in there moving forward. But it's going to take some effort to make all that come apart and go back together. But I need to have the car lowered so I can get to that stuff. And then as I move forward into the process, I'm going to start trying to get the sides up on the car and start making sure everything lines up and works its way to the back. I do have the, as you probably saw in the video, I have the right rear quarter panel, full quarter, and I can use a lot of that all as reference points. And once I get all of that stuff in place, I can take more off of the original car, get some of that out of there. So there is a process in going with how I'm doing this, and I'm trying to make sure I'm doing what we have talked about doing with it, but also trying to maintain what we can of original parts of the car. And sometimes maybe something just doesn't work, and we can't go down that road to save everything. But that's the plan moving forward. Otherwise, what else is going on out there? If you have any questions or comments, by all means, start throwing them out here for me so I can talk about stuff. I know it's rough. We're coming off of Mother's Day weekend, so we should have all done something for our mothers, right? I know typically what we do is my wife handles all that, because I'll just admit I'm not the gift giving type of person. I don't typically buy any of the. I don't like to buy cards. I don't like to buy gifts. I don't like to do any of that stuff. Just not my nature. But every year my wife sends flowers to her mom and my mom, and my mom will send my wife a text and say thanks for the flowers. She won't tell me till later if we talk on the phone. She's like, you sent me flowers, right? And I was, oh yeah, I know. I know I did. Okay, so let me try this one more time, Jerry. Jerry, he's trying to join me. I don't know why it's not working, though. That's all I can do, Jerry, is send it to you. Chris's problem is always work behind it isn't square. You won't get a square, even hood alignment. Yeah, if the other stuff is not square. Yeah, that is the challenge. That is the challenge. I know that car had a lot of problems with that car from whoever built it before, because I did visit him at his shop, and he was telling about all the stuff he had to do to try to straighten it back out. And then, of course, he had the incident where it rolled forward and crashed into the garage, causing a lot of problems. And I know again, he's trying to do it I assume mostly by himself. And sometimes you need to have another set of eyes and another set of hands in order to get those things figured out. I sent you another link, Jerry. We'll see what happens. Oh, that's the other news. Oh wait, there he is. Okay, Jerry, you're there. Let me pull him into the stream. The news. Oh wait, there he is. Okay, there you are, Jerry.
Hey,
how's it going? Pull him into the stream.
Well,
oh wait, there he is.
Same day, different challenge.
Hey, how's it going? Pull him into the stream. Okay, well, I see you on your computer, but I'm getting my voice coming back through. Okay, well, I'm getting an echo. I see you on your computer. So I don't know if I'm getting my voice coming back through. Because if you're trying to do it on your phone, you're actually hooked to me through your computer. So I don't know if I'm getting my voice coming back through. So I don't know. If you're trying to do it on your phone, you're actually hooked to me through your computer. So I don't know. Okay, so now you're muted. You muted yourself. I'm going to pull you off for just a minute. You muted yourself.
Are we okay?
I'm going to pull you off for just a minute. I'm still getting some feedback somehow. I don't know if everybody else is hearing that or not. I'm still getting some feedback somehow. I don't know if everybody else is hearing that or not. I'm going to mute you for just a second. You're still here, but I'm just going to pull you off the channel just for a second. Okay. So I don't know if everybody else was hearing that or not, but I was getting a definite repeat of the sound. So Evan says, I've got a 67 Mustang question. If there's time, replacing, steering column with a collapsible one, do I also need to replace the box, or can I modify the old one piece to join up with a new column? That's a good question. That is a good question, because the 67 had the spearing column. And I don't know if they sell. It is like a replacement piece for that, but I would recommend swapping it over to a 68 steering box, so you eliminate that altogether and not have to try to fight with it to get it back together. So I don't know. I don't know if they sell anything else to modify it. I have not looked into that myself. So I would replace the whole assembly with it and put in a 68 steering box. Chris, yeah, firewalls do odd stuff. You're right. Doyle, in my opinion, the video should be kept under hour if the content is moving along and progressing to an end. Example, door hanging and hinge adjustment. Yeah, well, thank you, Doyle. Okay, so Troy says it is echoing 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I don't know why, because, I mean, it has to be on Jerry's end. I don't know if it's coming through both his phone and the laptop or the computer at the same time. So Johnny's saying lots of feedback. And Dave, oh yeah, I can hear it. And Rich says he needs to turn off the volume off on either his computer or his phone. Yeah, one of the two. One of the two. Rich says the problem is that he is using his phone for volume, but the phone is picking up your voice from his computer speakers. So I'll have to. I'll put him back on for a second. We'll see what happens. All right, try that, Jerry. I'll put him back on for a second. We'll see what happens. All right, try that, Jerry. Yeah, I'm still getting an echo. I'll put him back on for a second. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Try that, Jerry. Yeah, I'm still getting an echo. Well, maybe. Let me take you back off for a moment. Maybe, I don't know if you're trying to make the contact, if your phone is being used at all, or if you're just using the computer. Because I know when you've done it before with your phone, it seemed to work. So I don't know. I would like to. I want to have you on, but it's hard to communicate with you if we're having this reverb effect. So yeah, they think it's your phone that's doing the thing. So I don't know if you're watching on your phone as well. In the meantime, okay. So Evan says right on. Thanks. Yeah, talking about the steering box. Yeah, I would definitely swap everything. Leonard, I've watched you prime fenders. What primer is good for you to do? I'm old school and I've always used red oxide to prep the surface. What's your favorite? Um, I would. I mean, I use epoxy anymore. I don't use red oxide for anything. I've never used red oxide, but anything that's got bare metal, I go to epoxy, and then start working out from there with 2K. So yeah, I want to say red oxide. Epoxy primer is the way to go, in my opinion. Richard says roar. Okay, glad you're here, Richard. And evening all. Evening to you as well. We're trying to work it out with Jerry to get him on. I don't know if we've got this figured out yet or not. Let me try one more time.
We're trying to work it out with Jerry to get him on.
Yeah.
We've got
Hold on
this
just a second.
figured out yet or not. Let me try one more. Yep. Hold on just a second. Figured out yet or not.
Yeah, it's still doing it. Still doing it. Yeah, Leonard says, thanks. You're welcome, Leonard. Dave Britton, regarding Studebaker, are you thinking wild looking or tame looking? Well, that's all debatable, I guess. I really haven't come to a conclusion on that. Like I said, I've seen that European video of that 64 racing against I think a 64 Galaxy 500, and it looked really cool to not have bumpers on it. And that car, of course, it was cream color and it had numbers on the side, for racing. So that was kind of cool. Now, do I want to go to that extreme? Not likely. I can tell you that, like, our family, we always raced number 67. So it has crossed my mind to put a 67 on the door, but I can't commit to that. I don't want to make it look like a race car and not actually race it, in a sense. But I do want to do the Mustang 2 front suspension. Probably put on. I'm debating on what wheels it should have on it. I don't want to necessarily use the hubcaps. I don't know that I want to go down that road. So I'm really it's wide open at this point as to where I'm going. The main thing is I want to get the front suspension figured out, get the engine running, start to make connections to where it could actually be started up and pulled out of the garage, and that's going to happen probably before I do the front suspension work. I'll probably get the engine running and see about what I can do to make it drivable. Richard, a Studebaker is already wild looking. Wild looking. Yes, I agree. You're right. Rich, I didn't have the heart to toss out my 6.7 steering box, so I cut the shaft off and machined it for a standard decoupling. I was able to put a generic tilt wheel setup in it then. Okay. That is an option. They have the DD shaft that he's talking about, and that would work. You could do that. You could do that. So I don't know what the availability is for a machine shop to be able to make your modification to that steering box shaft or not. That would be the challenge there, I guess. But good answer. I like that. Dave, will you add AC? Probably not. I don't even use AC. Like, if I'm just by myself in a vehicle, I don't even turn the AC on. I don't care if it's 90 degrees outside. I just put the window down. and just drive. So unless I'm on the interstate or something like that, but even then I don't like to even have the AC on. So I don't know if I'll put that effort into it. And he says, or too tough with the supercharger. It probably would be very difficult with the supercharger. But I don't see the need to put AC in it. It'll be driven at random, and it's not going to be ever used as a show car or any of that stuff. So, Doyle, have you picked up the engine yet? I guess my nephew did. So the engine is in his possession. The engine, the supercharger, and a few other items that I bought at the auction. So yeah, it's there. It's all still in Pennsylvania. I have to make a road trip up there and get it. Richard, I found it very interesting. They put a tractor-style front pivot steering. Never worked on this body stewed. Like, you never worked on that body stewed, or it didn't make sense on that body stewed. Yeah, I don't. It's a really weird idea to do that kind of steering, and it's like the Rube Goldberg thing where you start add this to add that to make it do this to then change that, and just doesn't make any sense to me. Why not just redesign your oil pan? If you're going to go to that much effort. Evan, Rich, that's what I was thinking. Thanks. It's in good shape, so might save me a few pennies. All right, well, there you go. Richard, I've never had a customer with one of these. Okay, I got you. All right, let's try Jerry one more time.
There you go.
Richard,
I've never had a customer with one of these. Okay, I got you.
See, I don't know.
All right, let's try Jerry one more time. There you go.
Hold on a minute.
I'm here.
Richard, I've never had a customer with one of these. Okay, I got you. See, I don't know. All right, let's try Jerry one more time. There you go.
See, if I turn down my volume,
I'm here. Richard, I've never had a customer.
I can still hear coming through my
All right, let's try Jerry
speaker.
one more time. There
But
you
if
go.
I turn it down, then I can't hear you.
I'm here. Richard, I've never had a customer.
Can you hear me now?
Coming through my.
See, I can barely hear you, but I have to turn I have to turn mine down to make it work. But the weird part about that is,
I can barely hear you, but I have to turn mine
hold
down
on
to
just
make
a
it work.
second.
Well, you know,
But
technology is
the weird part
amazing.
about that is,
Yeah, it is.
I have to turn mine down to make it work.
Well, you know, technology is amazing.
Yeah, all I hear is because you're hearing me through what, your phone or your computer?
Computer.
Okay. Now, when you had what are you doing with your
You're
phone?
hearing me through what, your phone or your computer?
Computer.
Right, but what are you doing with the phone?
Okay. Now, when you had what are you doing with your phone? Through what, your phone or your computer? Right.
I'm
What
just-
are you doing with the phone?
I'm
Now,
just
when
saying.
you had, what are you doing with your phone? Through what, your phone
I'm just right here with the
Right.
phone. I'm
What are you
just
doing with the phone?
Okay. See, I don't know if it's doing both. If it's like picking up your phone and the computer at the same time. So like if it's on your phone, you might have to just turn your phone off. If you have it on your phone, you may just have to shut the phone down to eliminate one of those because it's not working. If you have a speaker on your computer and a microphone on your computer, then I can hear you through that. But if you're trying to do it through your phone, you can't do both. It's either one or the other. Says Ray from pivot, as in like kingpins. Yeah, it has kingpins and the center swing arm underneath the front cross member. It's all weird. Leonard, when Krusty done, are you doing it? When done with the Cobra Jet, are you going to do it the Studebaker or one of the Mustangs? That's a good question. There's going to be several options for me to do that, and I don't know what I'm going to do just yet. The Studebaker might be just take care of one thing at a time while I'm working on other stuff. Just okay. Let's get this front suspension done. Fine, it's done. Now let's get back to doing a Mustang. I don't know yet because I know everybody wants to see a project go start to finish, but I can't say that I'm going to be able to do that with the Studebaker project. Okay, Jerry, I can see you in the video. Have you turned the phone off? Hey, I don't know if you can hear me now. Because if your phone's still on, it's not going to work.
I've turned the phone off and on,
Because
and
if your phone's still on, it's not going to work.
all right, let me see. I've turned the phone off and on, and
Because if your phone's still on, it's not going to work. So
so do you have me now?
I'm still getting the echo. Okay. So
So do you have me now?
I'm still getting the echo.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can fix that.
Okay. Well, it's pretty distracting to try to make it work. So I'll have to take you off.
I'm not sure.
Sorry, Jerry. I wish it was something I could do on my end, but I don't have any control over that. Charles Buzzy is talking about using the ePass on the 67, and that could work as well. Nandu, the computer is picking the feedback from the phone. Yeah. It's Richard saying it's a Jerry Inception. Yes, it's like the movie Inception. Bob Shoemaker, you should ask the nephew to let you pay him for some of the tags you want. Yeah, we've already talked about it. We will probably resolve that one way or another. I still can't believe he was the only one bidding against me because like I said, I'd given him the lot numbers. I didn't say specifically I'm bidding on the license plates. I said here are the lot numbers, so you know what I'm bidding on. Yeah, so it just the way it ends up. Charles says E-Pass with a manual rack and pinion, big thumbs up. You talking about on a 67 or on the Henry project? Because as of right now, it's going to have the system that I found is a complete rack and pinion or complete Mustang 2 front suspension with in this case, a power rack and pinion that I'll probably use, but I don't plan to put an E-Pass in the Studebaker. I don't have any need to do that. It just needs to be able to drive and make it to the end of the driveway and back for the most part. Michael, Flaming River makes a replacement box, and another company, I think it's Borgeson. Not sure if that's the correct spelling. Yes, I put in the Borgeson system in Jade. So I did the brake swap. Who was the brake company? I don't remember who the brake company was now. But I did the brake swap, and I put in the CPC. What? No, not what was it? Gosh, I don't remember the name. It was like a four-letter company. But I did the brake swap, and then I put in the Borgeson power steering, and I swapped over. The only thing I had to swap over was my pitman arm, I believe, from the manual box to the power box, and everything else worked. So it was not that difficult at all, in my case. As I get questions about the Studebaker, it's all good. The difficulty I think on some of it is, again, how far do you go? Because I don't want to dump tons of money in this car. It's not, at the end of the day, it's not worth tons of money to start with. And I've said it before, I could easily dump $30,000 into it and be lucky to sell it for 12. So I'm not going to do that. I will try to budget things and what makes sense to replace. I will. New fenders, I get it. I'll put new fenders on it just because it's too much work probably to fix those up. But I like the hood that's on it. I may just use that hood. It's got that black hood. Somebody had put a Mach 1 hood scoop on it. I might just put it back on it. I don't know. I've got a Mach 1 hood scoop hanging back there on the wall. So it could be a matter of piecing things together. Say, oh, look, here, this works. Boom, put it on. And then there's a debate on how far do you go with it. Do I do the full body restoration to make it look slick and clean and all that effort that goes into it? Or do I just kind of put it back together and fix what needs to be fixed and leave it alone? There's all kinds of ways to look at it. Richard, no offense intended, but I still find it odd you had to bid on your brother's car instead of them being glad to just sell it to you. Yeah, well, the original, supposedly the original idea was his widow said she would give it to me. She said that. And then later on, as we had a discussion, I said, okay, I'm interested in it. And I think I left it hanging like, let me know when you want it out of there, and then we'll go from there. Because she said it's no hurry, it's not going anywhere, it's going to stay right here, no rush. Whenever you want to come get it, that's fine with me. And I said, okay, that's how I took her word for it. And then as time went on, and conversations broke down between her and the rest of my family, and there was a lot of stuff going on where my family members were trying to get certain things from her, and she just like turned her shoulder to him, said no, she wouldn't even deal with them. But anyway, so she didn't tell me she was putting it in an auction. My wife actually found that the auction was going to happen, and it was just by chance that I was able to bid on this car and get a hold of it. So, yeah, it would have been. But I feel better about buying it, so that it's not at some point saying, "Well, I gave you that." You know what I mean? I gave that to you. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I feel better about paying for it. Richard, yeah, Studes are like a $7,000 car in mint shape, but it's a brother thing. The car is family now. It is. And I don't need to make it super duper fancy or anything like that. It's an open canvas ultimately. Because I can tell you, like, my brother put the 4-speed in it. I think he put that engine in it out of another Studebaker. The floor's chopped up. The rear end is out of a Lincoln Versailles Ford 9-inch, and I don't know that he was ever going for any other thing other than an interesting car in a sense. Like, it's an oddball Studebaker, and Studebakers were in our family for years, and so I think that was just kind of his connection with it was, I want this to be my Studebaker kind of thing. Well, when I talked to him the last conversation I had with him about 3 years ago, about this car, because he knows this kind of stuff that I do, and I said to him, well, why don't you send me this car and let me do all the body work, make it straight and pretty and paint it and all that stuff. He's like, nah, it's not worth it. He said, if anything, this is what he said, if anything, I would just rat rod it the way it is. So I get that. And that's kind of, it's almost like, well, do I just leave it alone? Do I just fix the stuff that needs to be fixed to make it drive down the road? Is kind of where we're at, But on the other side, I like to fix stuff that's bad and make it right. So Doyle says fixing fenders would be cheaper than replacing, but they say time is money, but in my opinion, money is money. Well, I can tell you this. From my understanding, those fenders, I can buy NOS fenders for $150 to $250 a piece. So to me, even at $250 a piece, here, take my money. I can't, the effort it's going to take to rebuild all that and make it look right and feel right. $250, yep, have at it. Send me the fenders. Michael, the rat rod look is in. Fix all the safety issues and enjoy the ride. Yeah, there's value in that. There is. There's a lot of work that would have to happen to make it solid again. The trunk lid's bad. The doors are bad. The fenders are bad. Parts of the floor pan are bad. The cowl is patched together. There's places in the cowl where there's just chunks of sheet metal welded in. All kinds of stuff. The Dawn is personal sentimental resto mod. Make it like the Johnny Cash song, one piece at a time. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's pretty much where I'm at with it. But I really hate that steering and that suspension up front. I really do. It just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. Leonard, you didn't need that hanging over your head, kind of like I kind of had the same thing happen. Yeah. Well, this way I can say that it's I bought it. It's not one of those things where, like I said, somebody can say, well, you never would have had that if I didn't give it to you. Just kind of snide remarks that I'll just nah. Dave Tyson, get it running, go from there. Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. Mr. Mikey, a little worldly flair for Henry Studebaker. Henry in French pronounced Henri. Henri noting a bit odd. Yeah, well, it is. A bit of a bad boy. A bit of bad boy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's several ideas that come to mind, and who knows, maybe I never paint it. Maybe I replicate some of this fantastic patina that's on it. I don't know. There is no. It's an open canvas at this point. It's just open. Dave, did I hear you Did I hear you say the nickname for the Studebaker? Can't remember. Yeah, I'm just calling it Henry. Just gonna call it Henry. Henry the Studebaker. That's all I need to do. Doyle, they do make some patina wipe on to protect what's there. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of sketchy looking things. Some of this black paint. That's just rattle can stuff. You look at the top of the doors and the quarter and parts of the roof all just have just rattle can stuff on it. So I don't know how much it would benefit to try to protect any of that. I know that you can take a razor blade and the first layer of red comes right off, and you can see like in the back there, the quarter, the metal flake blue that I'm pretty sure my dad painted that on there. I'm pretty sure. Probably sometime in the 80s. Well, early 70s, I would say. Early 70s, he probably did that. Dave says, looks like Iron Man is ready to go to work on it. Yeah, he is. And, oh, yes, he said the nickname a week ago. Yep. Yeah, he's just going to be Henry. So, like, I've had the Model A. My grandfather, I only ever knew him as Pap. So that's why I have Pap's 31A on the license plate. I doubt that I'll get another. I don't know. I might consider getting a license plate for that says something Henry. But I haven't committed to that at all. Ray, did make a single stage clear that could be used on the single stage paints on the car? I doubt they make a single stage clear. I've never seen you have to add hardener. So I doubt that's out there or available. I've never even looked into that. Never heard of that as an option. So I don't have it. I can't say yes or no for sure. But yeah, the hunt will be on. At this point, I need to get the front valance for the car. The rear is all there, but the front valance really needs to be there to fill in the bottom. I'm going to have to get a radiator for it. The one that's in it is not even close to what belongs in it. And if any of you saw the video that I did of the car, it's funny, the video footage from the junkyard, that was back in 92. So that was 31 years ago. And that it had the supercharger sitting on it. But I think it still had this radiator sitting in it. And I don't know what prompted him to pull the supercharger off. I don't know if there was an issue with it. I really don't know the history of any of that stuff. It's just I don't know. I never talked to him about that as to why he took it back off. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it's not worth putting back on the car. I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm going to have to get some input from some real Studebaker gurus that can help me with that. Richard, single stage clears would be for woods, and they look yellow over paint. Oh, okay. You're talking about a not an automotive clear coat. It'd be for woodworking. And Richard saw where some skillbilly did that. Okay. Sorry, Jerry. I tried. I don't know what else to do with the reverb thing, but it's too hard to communicate with all that happening. So I don't have. Maybe we can talk about the hood, individually or something, and try to help you out with that. But it just didn't work out here. 67 Kuda says, what year? I guess, are you asking the Studebaker? It is a 64 Commander. Dave Britton says, Barry, email me a list of what you need for that car. I will ask my Studebaker buddy, the 37 Coupe Express guy. Okay. Yeah, and I'm not worried about originality. That's out the window. The radiator can be aluminum. I don't care. Just so it has a radiator. It does not matter to me at all. Hopefully this engine doesn't have a problem. If it does, that might sway what I end up doing in the future with it. But at this point, I'm just going to have to leave it the way it is. I know there is, I know somebody's from, I forget who it is, from Indiana. But there is a Studebaker meet coming up in June. Studebaker swap meet in June up in South Bend, where Studebaker was built. That's where somebody on the Studebaker page, Facebook, had said they have new fenders, NOS fenders. They said, yeah, come on up. We'll, hook you up with these new fenders. Well, that's a long way to drive to get some fenders. And then I said, well, do you have somewhere else you're going to be meeting? And I think they said Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Well, if that's the case, if there's another swap meet there, I'll go there and get those fenders. Let's see. Evan says, thanks for hosting and thanks for the spearing feedback. Cheers. Glad you're here, Evan. 67, I will look here in California. Okay. What's really sad, like I said, the value of these is not that high. I think it was out in California, in fact. There's a 59 Lark. It's a Lark 8, which would be the 8-cylinder, I guess, station wagon out there that somebody started to do an LS swap on. Beautiful patina on that thing. Has an LS engine sitting in it, or at least a 5.3 or something. And they're selling the whole project for like $4,000. I would love to have the 59 Lark station wagon for $4,000. I mean, that's one of the cool looking little cars that they built. But again, I don't have room for any more stuff at this point. Leonard, when you did the 70, I caught bits and pieces from where you did the door inner frame. Looking forward to seeing this one through. Yes. Yeah, there was a lot of work on that. Well, not a lot, but to save the doors on the 70, yeah, there was a lot of work on those. We're not going to have that option on this 69. The doors are too far gone. Crash Rider vanity plate, HIS for Henry, inspired Studebaker. I like that. Ray Buckman, that could be a bonus for fenders, radiator, and anything else that could come in handy. Yes. Yeah. Like I said, there's still new parts available for that. I just have to get to them. Derek Pro, better late than never. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. Mustang coming up great. Good work as usual. Thank you for that. Oh, here's the other thing. I've been talking before about the whole camper deal, and I think we found the camper that we want to get. I really feel like we found it. It's in Florida. It's about 350, 60 miles away from us. So I need to try to force myself to make a road trip to Florida. I think it's Fruitland. I think Fruitland, Florida is where it's at. So I've been talking with the dealer, trying to make some sort of arrangement to either get there to see it. But I feel like that's probably where we're headed with the camper deal. So we're trying to get that organized, get that this year at some point get a camper, and then do some test runs with it later on in the year just to make sure everything feels right and works right. Of course, still working the Mustang, not getting away from that, but then the potentially next year try to do some of the road trip stuff that I've talked about. But we did find a camper that I really like. We really like. Derek, did you find out where that place is I sent you where the Camaro got picked up? Your neighborhood? I did not. I think it's North Georgia, which would be probably a couple hours north of me, 2 to 3 hours north. But I didn't actually pursue that. Leonard, is that the video where the guy got a 67 Fairlane? Are you talking about the this? Oh, you're talking about Derek, I think. I don't know. I guess you're talking to Derek. Richard says vacation camper. Yeah, that's the thing too. We've been looking at Class C motorhomes. Obviously, Class A's are a choice too. I'm more interested in the Class C personally. I think that's a better choice for what we're doing. My wife started looking at the Class A's. I'm not a fan of the Class A so much. I know the Class C's were a dedicated truck chassis to start with, and I think the Class A's were more of a built on like a bus chassis or something. So we're trying to stay under 28 feet long. That's really where I don't want to go any longer than that. And like I said, the one we found is down in Fruitland, Florida. Also, Leonard's saying the Lark. I don't know where that's at. It was on a Facebook advertisement for the 59 Lark. It was a light blue Lark. I know that much. Ray says, just out of curiosity, does it have all the trim? Looks like the front is missing some. Actually, I was surprised because that trim right there, believe it or not, that's probably the hardest pieces to find for this car, because this one is from my understanding, it's called a Commander Special. If you look up Studebaker Commander Special, you can see the difference. 64. This trim apparently was only on the Special, as they called it. Now I don't know how many they made under that Special label. I don't know for sure, but that trim is only about 3/4, maybe about an inch wide, 3/4 to an inch wide. Whereas a regular Commander or Daytona, it's like 1.5 to 2 inches in that range. But the pieces are in the back seat. So that is a plus. That is a plus. Doyle, do you still have hopes for the 70 CUDA in that you know about? I always have hopes, but I can't say that it'll ever come about. In me personally, I'm going to be a lot more aggressive towards pursuing something like that than my son would ever be, and trying to get him motivated to help make this get involved is really hard. And I mean, it's just not him. It's just not how he is. But for me, I'd be like chomping at the bit. Where's it at? I got to go see it. Let's see it. Let's go. Come on. But I really have a hard time getting him on that. He's not geared the way I am. Richard, Class A's can be a whole nother tax bracket as well. See, that's what I was wondering. Where is there an advantage one way or the other? I know the Class A's, you feel like you get more room because it's a cab over design, but I don't like that cab over design. I just don't like it as much as the Class C look, and probably the way it drives. James, would putting dual exhaust on a 1 of 2 for color be bad? So you're talking about a Marty report that says your car is 1 of 2 ever built in this configuration. I'm going to say, honestly, I don't see that it would matter. However, it's on you. So what makes it specific that it's a 1 of 2? based on for color. Is it a? So you didn't give me any details. Like, is it a standard coupe? Is it a GT? Is it a Mach 1? Is it, a Twister Special? Is there some variable that comes into play that makes it a special car beyond the color? Or did two people order just this really obscure color for some reason that nobody else wanted? That's the thing. It could be is puke yellow and two people pick puke yellow. Does that make it really more valuable? Well, if somebody's looking for a puke yellow car, it would. But if that's the only thing that really makes it special, I don't know that adding in dual exhaust is really going to make any difference in that case. Derek says, possibly Leonard not going to promote this guy on the stream. We are all in for Barry. Okay. Leonard, that's the one he walked around and showed the fact it had a V8 with a column shift. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even see the video, so. Greg's Workshop checking in. Glad you're here, Greg. Hope all is well down under. 67, I own a 7344 speed CUDA, bought it 45 years ago. Well, that is a valuable car at this point, assuming that it's all there and complete and running and fixed up. Phil, do you feel like junkyard story time? It's all good either way. Well, I did a junkyard story earlier. We were talking about the auction. I don't know if you were on last week or not. There was an auction sale at the property, and it is no longer attainable for our family. It was sold to a power company up there, and it is no longer something we can even have in our possession anymore. So as far as junkyard stories, well, that's all going to have to be in my memory bank of things. Do I have anything specific that stands out from the junkyard that I haven't talked about before? I can't say for sure. I know I've talked about a whole variety of things that we have done. And this may or may, I don't know if I've talked about this. Earlier we talked about a 68 Charger. And at one point my sister had to drive, I'm pretty sure it was a 68 Satellite. It wasn't a Charger, but it was a 4-door Satellite, and it was blue. 318, automatic, nothing special. But, it was a car that we drove around in, or she drove around in. So I may have mentioned this before, but growing up, I was left alone a lot. Like, from the time I was about 12 or 13. My siblings would be off somewhere. My parents would be off somewhere. And they would just tell me, stay here, don't go anywhere, don't get hurt. You know how it is. Generation X. So what I learned was nobody's home. So what does that mean? Well, my sister's car would always be there because she'd be with her boyfriend or something. And I eventually got to the point where I would take her 67 or 68 Satellite, pretty sure it was a Satellite, and fire it up. And initially I would just drive it up and down the road just to play with it. Like I said, I was 12, 13 years old, and I would drive up and down the road. And then I decided, I want to see what I can do with this car. So the field across from the junkyard was it wasn't even really a hay field. It was just a field. I don't know if the farmer ever planted anything there. It was just kind of an open field, but it was easily accessible from the road. In fact, my dad, many times, he would have cars that he would put on the edge of that property. So I think if I go back up here, I think I have some pictures. So that's at the junkyard, and that's the tank that we had. And then I think this is across the field. I think. I don't remember exactly. I know that he would push stuff. Yeah, I think that's the field. Anyway, it was pretty flat area. But I would eventually get to the point where I started driving into that field and just doing big donuts, just going all over the place because there was nothing to hit. I didn't think about it when I was doing this that I'm making ruts. So I'm doing donuts. Oh, and there's nobody around. There's nobody for miles. And I'm out there just doing all this stuff, cutting up the field. And then I'd park the car. And I know the one time I did that, and I thankfully I looked at it. I got out of the car, and I went back, and I saw all this weeds and dirt and stuff packed up under the car. So I ended up driving it further down the road and cleaned all that junk out and came back. And then I looked across the field and I see all these donuts out in the middle of this field. I'm like, I didn't think about that. That's a visual that I can't get rid of. Thankfully, nobody ever apparently noticed that I did that. But that was my first experience without playing around and trying to do donuts and dumb stuff with cars. So there's a little story that I probably haven't told before, but there you go. There you go. Thank you, Phil. Glad you're here, by the way. Derek says, Barry, are you going to do the Stude as a retro, similar to that Mustang pick I sent you? No, I don't. I'm not going to go to that extreme. I mean, it'll be. It'll never be stock. I can tell you that. But I don't know if I'm going to go to that extreme on the build, because unless I can figure out a way to race it somewhere, I don't want to invest a lot into it in that sense. Ron says, hello, Joe. Hello, Ron. Glad you're here. James says, it's a J-Code coupe in color powerful purple. Okay, never heard of that color. The other is a fastback. So one car is a fastback and yours is the coupe. If that's the only thing that makes it significant, I wouldn't hesitate to put exhaust on it. The reality is you could put dual exhaust on it, and if you wanted to make it back to original, you could put the single exhaust back on it. It's not that critical, in my opinion. Dawn says, I guess I missed done good stuff. Okay. Installing an AC for a friend. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Leonard, night, y'all. See you next week. Thumbs up. Yeah, I got to cut off here in just a second. Mr. Mikey, the story is getting better. Yeah, it did. Dave, the smell of hot dirt on the exhaust from ripping through around the fields is a great childhood memory for me. Yes, it is. It is. It was a good time. Doyle, it would look cool with a blower out of the hood if there's an issue with the turbo engine. With the supercharger. Yeah, I mean, it actually clears underneath the hood. It all fits. That video that I did shows the hood close and opens it up. So, yeah, I don't know. It's an open canvas. I don't have anything directly in my mind that it needs to be one way or the other, and it might change as I move forward. I'm not going to stress over it. I just want to get it running again and make it drive down the road. That's the thing. Okay, we're going at it pretty good here. Let's see. Richard, if you tried to make that Studi stock condition again, you would have more in it than Jade. Yeah, you're right. Dave Tyson, Mad Max car. Yeah, yeah, maybe. I'll have to try to find a picture of that racing 64 that I found and try to get it, available here. Just to show you what I'm talking about. I think it would look pretty cool with all the with some real meat underneath for tires, real meaty tires and stuff. So, yeah, Hellcat engine. No, I probably won't do that. Okay, so that's going to be it for tonight. I do appreciate everybody being here, and I'll be back next Monday at 7 once again. I will update as I move forward with the Mach 1 project and get stuff apart. I'll be posting pictures on Facebook, of course, and Instagram and all that sort of thing. But at this point, that'll be it for tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks again for being here, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.